IVM.
Welcome to Absolutely Right. I'm your host Aditi Surana. We may forget quotes and lessons after some time, but we all remember stories and dialogues for life. Have you wondered why? When we feel something at a human, emotional level, it alters our perspective. As the Japanese author Haruki Murakami says, when people open their hearts, they get better. It happens to me in every session. When a client opens up a story, they talk about their deepest emotion, I feel I transform each time. I invite you to be a part of a live session that we have recorded specially for this podcast.
I want justice. I'm not in the wrong, first of all. I mean, why should I deserve this when I have given my 100%, 200%, and why I'm not able to overcome it? This particular relationship issue, I don't know why it bothers me so much. Why?
Today's guest is a 61-year-old unbeatable woman who was compelled to restart her life 8 years ago at 53 when she went through a forced separation. Since then, Gurmeet did everything in her capacity to stand on her feet, support her kids, nurse her ailing father single-handedly. Last month, however, she met her husband after 8 years at her son's wedding. It wasn't easy. It stirred the pot, got all the demons out. She knows she has been strong while dealing with this situation. But in this period, she kept on reminiscing some dark moments over and over again. At this point, she believes that in order to close this chapter completely, she deserves a genuine apology and some empathy from her husband. She wants to forgive him, but she feels trapped in her own memories. She has tried it all, but no matter what she does, she is unable to forgive him. Gurmeet sent her handwriting sample last week along with her question. This conversation is a sneak peek of a real one-time session from my desk. This is all raw the way a session happens. We have just edited a few details for confidentiality. You must listen to this episode if you struggle to forgive people from your past, if you feel frozen in time remembering a traumatic situation, or if you know you need to change some perspective and find some peace and clarity when it comes to forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness is such a draining topic for most of us. We cognitively understand it, but when we feel caught up and rather trapped in our narrative, we can't do much about it. What makes this conversation tougher is the unspoken social stigma and the sense of deep rejection that she felt. At some places, I look at her handwriting sample, and as graphology allows me to understand her personality at a deeper level, I question her judgments and her conclusion in a direct manner. My insights from her handwriting allow me to see the gap between the actual situation and her experience of it. We will start the session on the other side of this short break.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's been a really fun week this week, as it is almost every week, but this week was particularly fun. Parmesh Shahani was on Cyrus Says, great conversation over there. We had a crossover event. Vineet Kanabar, host of the Storytellers and Storytellers podcast, came on Uncle Please Sit. Really interesting conversation about the future of digital content. Besides that, it was the 50th episode this week of Agla Station Adulthood. Congratulations to Ritasha and Ayushi. But yeah, they're 50 episodes down. They had Rekha Jha as the guest on that show. On Advertising is Dead, Varun had the founders of Foxy Moron, Suvir Bajaj and Pratik Gupta on. Another really, really interesting conversation. So full of interesting conversations this week. But with that, let's get you back to your show.
So hi Gurmeet.
Hi, Aditi. Hi.
This is so nice to have you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Now,
Sure.
whatever is your question, I have your handwriting sample in front of me and you have already written your question. But if you would like to state it, you would like to say it, it would be nicer for us to begin.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and it's such a pleasure talking to you all the time, every time. There's a connection, I feel. Unhesitantly, I can talk to you. I don't have to think or, say, kya bolu. And I love your podcast, what I hear. I keep listening all the time. Yes, the gyan is so practical, doable.
Yeah.
It touches me,
That is actually the attempt, because if you make it very philosophical, we hear so many theories we can't implement. It doesn't do anything for us. So the idea is to keep it really, really to the point.
Very practical and good. So actually, I've been in a very rock and roll relationship for quite some time. In fact, my entire life. And at this age, I'm 61. I'm revealing my age on air. But yeah, now I feel, earlier I could cope up. Now I'm not able to cope up. I think it's my own analysis that I think my inner healing has not happened. So until and unless I'm not healed inside, I cannot move forward. Forgiveness, apologies, they are all there. I've done all that. But still, it's very raw inside.
So by raw, what do you mean? Like when you remember an event from the past, it feels as if it is happening right now.
Yes. Something triggers in my environment. It just takes me off. I'm off then. Then I go deep dive into everything, what happened, the sequence. And then it bothers me. Of course, I train my mind. I don't have to go there again and again. That is a forsaken road. I don't have to look there again. But yeah, we are human beings. And we do think, we do emote. So that bothers me, that how to heal myself. My basic question is, how does the inner healing actually happen?
And I think that's a brilliant question. And most of us have those questions, right? When we are hurt, a part of our journey is because someone else has done this. When we talk about pain, in any form, when we describe pain, there is a context. There is like this belief that the pain is inflicted upon me. Right? Yeah. Someone else did something that they shouldn't have done for me to feel what I shouldn't have felt.
Right.
And I'm going to take a moment and question that. Yeah. For example, exams are really stressful. So somebody sets the tough paper, and that is the reason why I failed. If you look at it from that perspective, there is very little room for growth, because we believe that if the paper would have been simpler, then my results would have been better. Whereas, if you look at the education system and if you look at that whole statement, you'll realize that it's not real. If you're really prepared and if you're really willing to give the exam for what it is, then you wouldn't have this expectation from the examiner how the paper should be created. So when we are talking about who inflicted this pain on you, and I'm not saying this from a spiritual perspective, philosophical perspective, my genuine practical outlook to life is this. Now, if something is broken, if you are handling a glass vessel, and if it is broken, now no matter how valuable the vessel was, we can't do anything to change that situation. We cannot sit and stand there and think about who exactly kept it there, what exactly got this situation in my life. We sit there and say, okay, now it is broken. I can't let these glasses be here. I have to clean it properly so that I don't hurt myself further.
Beautiful.
Similar is our required outlook in the situation when we look at emotional pain. Who inflicted it? Why that person did it? What was the reason? How you reacted? Because today, at this point, you're way more detached, distant, and mature to look at the same scenario. You did not feel the same emotions then. So it's not one person doing it to me, but this whole idea that this problem shouldn't have existed for my life to become simpler is my question. How do we know? How do we know this? Like most problems that come our way shape us in ways that we do not believe can ever happen.
Yeah.
Right? So many problems. Like today, the way you speak, today the way you think, today the way you look at even this healing process wouldn't have happened without having those broken pieces. Very moment we change our perspective from this problem is in my smooth way. We believe that my life should have been very smooth, very straight, and the problem is a roadblock which is stopping me from living the smooth life.
Yeah.
That is a myth. Life is all about one challenge to another challenge to third challenge. And that's why we do not meet pretty much anybody who has lived without any problem.
Yes, of course.
Right? So you're learning, so that person, whomever is inflicting this pain on you, or these people, or the situation, is part of the journey. The very moment you stand there and you say, oh, this journey is my journey, the blame would be much lesser. Right now, not only because I can see your writing, but also from what I'm understanding, is there is this feeling that this should not have happened for life to be in a certain way. Right? And because you have spent all these years fighting it, today, when you feel that there is no fight, you still feel like fighting because you're so used to, habituated to fighting internally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have made a kind of a balloon, like a bubble for myself. I want to be just in that and not break that and move ahead, I think.
Also, I'm remembering this story of some soldier from army. He gets this one army battle wound, and then he believes that that battle wound is like the biggest thing that has happened to him because he survived that battle. And then he comes home, and every time a guest comes, he narrates the whole battle. He narrates the whole battle. He's like, this happened. The soldiers were here. I had this kind of situation. Now, for him, he is reliving the glorious moment, right? But for his relatives, the family members, they're like, okay, how many times are you going to repeat the same story, right? You can look at it, but the person cannot look at it in this situation. Similarly, in your story, when you relive your battles, like those battle scars, you really keep repeating the same battle over and over again. So my question to you, Gurmeet, what is the value of doing that? What exactly happens when you repeat that question or that scenario to yourself? What are you trying to get at?
I want justice.
Okay.
Yeah, I want that I'm not in the wrong, first of all. Why should I deserve this when I have given my 100%, 200%? I have not deferred from my any of my responsibilities, or I have lived to the expectations, not only mine, even for the others. Then why is this whole thing, happened to me, and why I'm not able to overcome it? I have seen many problems in life, and I have done a good job in changing things and learning to live with them and overcoming them. I've handled my father's cancer all alone by myself. Everything I've done, but this particular relationship issue, I don't know why it bothers me so much. Why?
So I read this beautiful line: the opposite of love is not hate, is indifference.
Yeah.
Right? So when we look at still bothering, still feeling that emotion, is still having some expectation underneath that makes you feel that I expect you to make up for the damage done. I expect. So I would request you, if you can think about it right now. So what will be fair? Just let's think about it. What will be fair according to you? Keeping in mind that you can't go back and deal with what has happened in the past.
Yeah.
Today, if you really want to make amends with this, what would be fair?
It would be the other person, my partner, to acknowledge, not apologize. I don't want any apologies. To acknowledge, yes, things did go wrong somewhere, and let's forget that and move ahead.
So you just want that person to say, I shouldn't have done this?
Yes, yes. It was wrong on my part to have behaved like this or conducted myself like this, or whatever, the bone of discontention was between us. So I want that person to at least realize that what damage or what harm have I done that has made me so vulnerable, and I I'm scared to build another relationship also, basically. Just because I feel the things, the sequence
Repeat,
repeat.
may repeat themselves.
So there is a part of me which is still tight inside. I may have best of friends, but still I don't give what I want to give.
So you you keep evaluating the situation,
Yes.
and you do not behave
Yeah.
like you're.
Suddenly I hold myself back. I mean, when I'm giving in with my girlfriends and with my children, suddenly I hold myself back. No, you know, this is enough. You will otherwise get hurt beyond this. That those brakes are pulled. So that, yeah,
That's such a beautiful statement. Like you said, that because somebody did not do what he should have done, I hold myself back.
yeah,
I constantly do not. So there is a limit. There is this invisible bond that you have created, and you're like, oh, this is my barrier. This is my limit. I won't go beyond it. So if we have to, at this point in time, look at what would be the happy life, it would be one that you say, okay, I want the person to come and acknowledge that because of my mistake, Gurmeet,
yeah,
you suffered.
yes,
Okay, and I shouldn't have done it.
yes,
Okay, I just acknowledge it.
yes.
What would that
I
do?
realize that. Yes,
What would that do?
it would give me solace. It would give me, yeah, at least that empathy. That person is empathizing with me. I think empathy is the word rather than acknowledging. Yeah,
Okay. So empathizing, that means the person is saying, I'm just rephrasing what you
yeah,
probably could expect. They're saying, okay, I'm sorry, Gurmeet, because of my choices or because of our situation. You behaved in a certain manner and I behaved because of our situations. We lived this life and I'm sorry for my part. How about
instead of saying sorry, because sorry is a very shallow. There is no meaning to sorry actually. It is just a feeling that yeah, because of this, you had to undergo a lot of challenges in your life, and you had to fight it out all by yourself.
so why sorry is a shallow word for you?
I don't know. I somehow don't believe. It's your actions that should say sorry rather than the just a lip service sorry. I mean, you
So
say sorry even when you bump into somebody or when you accidentally hit
sure.
in a mall. I'm sorry, sorry. So and when you're creating such a big blunder, I mean, you're putting that person down in the dumps and still say sorry. So
That's not acceptable.
yeah,
So for you, sorry must be experienced and expressed
yes,
in
and
action.
in action. Yeah, yeah,
Of course, if the person feels genuinely sorry, then the person will behave in a certain way.
yes.
Do you live with your partner? Do you live with your husband? Okay.
It's 8
So,
years, more than 8 years. Yes.
and then when we are not living together, just by using the words that I acknowledge that I caused the damage, do you really believe that you will get the solace? Because that is not expressing sorry, that is not actually making any behavioral change. So, what
Mm.
are we looking at here? Because if sorry word does not have any value, then saying that I acknowledge I damaged you, why those words have value? And will they genuinely have value?
Yeah, because it will be an inner realization. It will not be just saying this because those words are going to be put into it. It's going to be from within. That realization will come, and then these words will follow. Without the realization, it will not happen.
So,
The
if the
realization,
realization never comes in that person's life because of his journey, the way it is, what would you do to your life?
yeah. I'm trying to battle it, yeah, but there are certain times, like recently, it was my son's wedding. We were together under the same roof, but it was not even very, very cordial, you can say. There were no exchange of words. I was taking the initiative that we represent ourselves as a family unit, that we are one. Let's pose for pictures at least. Let's be, there for our children, create a happy environment.
Sorry to interrupt you, but two unhappy people, when they are together against their will. See, here you were doing this as a mother of your son and not
Yes.
wife of your husband. He was doing as father of his son and not your husband. So when two unhappy people are forced to be in a situation, technically the happy unit is only an external perception.
Yes, it was. It was.
It is not necessarily the happy unit to begin with.
No, it was not from within at all. It was just to, for memory's sake, yes, we were there present for the child's wedding and we were together in a picture. Just for memory's sake.
So in this case, when you have parted ways, you have figured out a functional system away from each other. And I'm also repeating these points because so many times people don't know what exactly is bothering them. When people who are listening to this conversations will suddenly realize, okay, I have this person in my life. I think about this person all the time and it boils my blood, or I'm justifying that fight. I keep telling myself I should have said this, I should have said that. So it's literally reliving.
Yes.
Now, even if the person comes and apologizes, even if he says that this was my internal realization, will anything change in your practical life?
Yeah, it may change. It will at least, kind of, right now, sometimes I feel that, have I wronged somewhere? Self-doubt does creep in. What could I have done better so that we are not at this point right now?
Have you apologized for your part of the damage that you might have made that you're not aware of?
Not in physical words, of course, but I have conveyed it that yes, it was my kind of losing myself in that situation, but I couldn't do anything better than that when you just find out that there is a somebody else other than you. So that is, I think, a break point for every woman, any woman.
Okay, I completely agree. And that is breach of trust to a point that it feels it is not recoverable from that space.
Yes.
I'm looking at your writing, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, but compared to your spouse, you came across as a very self sufficient, very confident, and very strong person. I do not have your husband's handwriting, so I can't fully talk about his personality. But if I look at only your writing, you do have a sense of being a strong person, and also in moments overpowering on the other person. So when you really become that stronger person and when you take charge of the situation, you do become, and I'm not going to mince my word, but dominating in some ways. So sometimes people can take it because that is generally moving the overall situation ahead, solving the problem, taking you to the next level. But there are moments where it does become difficult for the other person to hold their identity. Okay. There are moments where you also get impatient about your emotions and your emotional expression.
Yes, I
So
do.
you realize, and I'm sure you would have felt it in the moment, the words that are coming out of your mouth, you would say, okay, no, I hope these words don't come out. But you can't stop them because it's almost like the arrow has left.
Because the emotions are so strong at that time.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, when people talk about relationships after moving away, moving apart, what they remember is from the space of calmness. Today, when you look at the situation, you're more rational about it. You look at the person and say, he shouldn't have behaved in this manner.
Yeah.
This broken trust is not acceptable. Today, you would use these words. But that time, when you're expressing your anger, the kind of emotions that you expressed probably could have created a damage that is beyond belief. So I agree that in no way, in no context, in no perspective, we can justify somebody breaking trust in a relationship. That is not, you cannot do anything about it. I agree with you. But what we do about it, what we choose when the other person is going through, remains our way of looking at it.
Yeah, that is where I feel I have faltered. I have kind of spoken to every family member about it. that, see, this is what is, like literally chest beating myself that see what I have been inflicted upon
Right.
for so many years.
Right.
I wanted people to,
No, listen. And also,
sympathize with me, or
what you're saying in ways, Gurmeet, is you're saying because one person did not empathize with me, I actually expected other people to sympathize with me.
yeah, but now nobody did, actually speaking. No, I was left on my own too. That's what has made me self-sufficient, strong, and whatever you could kind of see from my handwriting, dominating. Yeah, I have become. I was not dominant. I was not assertive, but I have learned to become this because I think that's the way I think I went my uh, inner anger, maybe.
I'm gonna rephrase it. I'm gonna say it in a different way. I would say that you were always this strong, independent, really sufficient person who believed that she cannot express herself in this manner. So you held yourself under this garb. Society does that, especially for your generation. It was not okay for
Yeah.
a daughter-in-law or for a wife to behave in a certain manner.
Yes.
So you kept holding yourself back. And one day, when this thing happened, you literally unleashed your wings and you started behaving in the manner, the way you felt without caring.
Bang on. You nailed it. You nailed it.
So, is it possible that instead of owing you an apology, you should be actually thanking your husband for doing this to you?
At times I do. At times I do. That I am now more bolder.
Yes,
Yeah, I do lot many things which I would have never, just to challenge my own self. I went and saw movies all by myself. I don't know. It gave me a lot of.
I'm so happy. I love doing that, and people always roll their eyes, wondering why I do it. But it is liberating. At so many level, it is liberating to watch movies alone in the cinema.
Yeah, I have done. I can think of that now, and there are many small other things. I learned swimming.
Wow.
To last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
Of water, but I said no. I have to get over this phobia. So I went and started my swimming lessons early in the morning. Yeah, I did.
When somebody who's this strong tries to fold themselves and be boxed in a very small situation, and I want you to internalize it. You need not say yes or no at this point in time, but internalize this thought. When you try to box yourself in this small, little setting of your marriage, every day when you wanted to spread your wings, every day you wanted to do something different and experiment with your life, and you realize it is not possible in this setting, internally you resent the setting and thereby resent the person who is responsible for the setting. So when you cannot fulfill your expectation from your life, all of us at some level start believing that the other person is responsible for my restrictions. Whereas we do not want to take the consequences and the criticism that the situation brings.
And I wanted to prove myself also, I think, my inner self, that there's nothing wrong with you. You are good enough. You can do this. Of course, the happiness may be external, but internally also you feel empowered.
And I agree with you. I feel you feel highly empowered. You do feel that so many parts of your life have fallen in place for you to discover yourself.
Yes.
It's not in swimming, it's not in these choices that you're making. It is the ability to make choices.
Yes.
It's a freedom, internal freedom. Like externally, we have freedom. Internally, when we don't have those choices and the ability to choose, we're like, okay, no, I need someone else to push me, encourage me. And that is where the issues always existed. With the kind of independence that you have in the setting, in the social setting that you are, it looked odd always. Your thoughts were too forward. You were too independent. You did not agree to opinions the way people expected you to. So those were the friction points that you lived through or pretended to live happily through for a very, very long time.
Yes.
So when the garb fell down in that fight 8 years ago, it actually, when you saw what was happening much before that, you did not find a new reality. The way both of you had been with each other just became more open to everybody, including both of you. So we do that. We keep pushing our issues under the carpet. We say, no, 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 kids, family, society, this, that. We keep living the world. And when the curtain fell down, you suddenly expose the making of picture or making of, like in the making, like all the emotions which were half done, suddenly everything just surfaced.
Very true.
If you hold the other person responsible for that moment that happened 8 years ago, you could be correct. But if you take a moment and internalize and ask yourself, was it only that moment or was it all that we were building up to?
It was a built up.
And if it was a built up, then both of you were playing party to it. It was not one person inflicting it on you or you inflicting it on the other person. It is both of you who on a daily basis chose not to address the issues you had, chose not to find the exact tools in which you can build that communication channel, chose not to understand the other person's perspective on this, because we cannot be right. There is no one perspective to live life. Dal 50 तरीके से बनती है. My mom makes dal, it's different. If I follow the same recipe, if I make it, it turns different. So it's when you pick any situation, the perspectives will always be different. But we believe that one perspective is better than the other. My perspective is better than his. His perspective is more selfish than mine. When we kind of do that, we suddenly start choosing sides, and then we want people to choose sides. Right? You want people, including your husband, you want others to tell you it was so brave on your part to do this or to go through this or to experience this. And that is seeking sympathy to justify our internal story. There is one story about this situation that you have written. All of us write stories, right? We are great writers, but the stories are written from our perspective. We say, I feel this way, this shouldn't have happened, this person, whatever is the story. So what you want is you want the other person to agree to your story. Which they would not, which they would never. Like the way we look at movies. In the movie, when the hero kind of is fighting his battle for his parents, and then his father is killed and he decides to go and kill the villain. And then he finds his way, and we are all agreeing with the hero that yes, he should do it. Yes, it is important. And they reach a point where the hero actually goes and kills the villain, and we're very happy about it. The villain on the other side will have the same story if the movie changes and narrates the story from his perspective. But because our storyline in our mind is moving with the hero, with the protagonist, we start believing this side of the story, and then the murder, which was not justified in the first case, suddenly becomes a justified action in the other case, because we are following the protagonist. So here in your case, you are the protagonist. So I'm not saying it was one person's fault or his fault or your fault. I do not know the situation. And
it is not about.
But it is about, definitely it was a built-up. Definitely it was this everyday frustration.
Everyday bickering and everyday nagging and criticism and whatever, that nitpicking, all those words.
And finally, this one situation or explosion put an end to all of this. In many ways, you could have, or probably you wouldn't have done this without this accident of being exposed.
Yes.
You wouldn't have done it. You would have lived through that situation.
Yes. I lived for quite some time, but this triggered off. This was like the break point.
Break point on something that was already broken.
Yes.
Not break point on a happy relationship.
No, not in a happy relationship, but I couldn't take this. I couldn't tolerate this. Other things I have tolerated.
So, because you're sitting on this time bomb already, that one chingari, that one flame was enough for you to explode. But the time bomb, what I'm trying to bring to your attention, the time bomb was being built all along. And when you acknowledge it, you would not wait for that one person to come and say, I'm sorry that you had to be in this fire, that you had to burn like this. Because you also know that both of you were building the fire all along.
What I mean, what should I be auto-suggesting myself, or what
Do
should
not,
I be?
do not auto suggest, because auto suggestions leave us when we are subconsciously not strong. Auto suggestions do not come with us when we are really, really emotional. But what I believe is the capacity of the mind or brain, the way we have, when we see things for what they are, then they cannot have hold on us. The reality of the situation is the hurt is in expectations. The hurt is not in the situation. The hurt that you're experiencing is in the expectations that you felt in this relationship. And the expectations were based on my desire to live a life in a certain manner, which either my spouse could not understand or I couldn't make him understand, whichever way you look at it. But both of us were not on that same page.
Right,
What he wanted from his life and what I wanted from my life were two different things.
Yes.
Either we could have given each other freedom to live those different lives, or we could have accommodated each other's different ideas and could have created a same life. But both of you didn't do it or couldn't do it. So today that you have got your freedom, after 8 years of experiencing it, after living this life, what you're referring to is somebody, the narrative that you've built. Do not go in auto suggestion, but re-look at the narrative for sure. What are you exactly telling yourself? And, every time I have gone through an emotional journey, I have asked myself this question. So is it really true, or you're saying this because you're feeling bad? First month, you don't agree with it. Second month, you don't agree with it because you're still charged up. But after some time, I kept asking myself, I want to see things for what they are, not for what I think they are. So what I thought was really, really wrong and shouldn't have been done. Oh, after a period of time, I realized, the person was not doing this to me. This is how his nature is. I'm like, okay, if that is his nature, then he won't behave differently for me in a certain manner. Or if he does, it is pretentious. So, my very close friend once told me that please do not take other people's behavior personally. No matter what they do, they're not doing this to you.
Yeah.
They're doing this because that's who they are.
Yeah.
You may think it is gray, white, blue, whichever color you give. But for them, they're doing the correct thing. For them, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And more handwritings I look at, Gurmeet, I can't agree with it more. Your personality justifies your story. My personality justifies my story. Right? Imagine if you, being a stronger person, can pick up 5 kgs in one hand. For example, for me, I might not be able to pick up 5 kgs. I may only pick up 2 kgs.
Okay.
You look at me and say, why are you not getting my point, Aditi? I'm telling you pick up 5 kgs. I said, yes, I'm trying my best, but I can only pick up 2. You're like, what are you talking about? You're young. You should pick up 5.
Yeah.
Now, what is true for you is not true for me.
Yeah.
Right? You can take the stress and function without breaking. That's probably not applicable to the other person.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody cannot have the same tolerance levels.
Or they cannot have the same impatience levels.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one is correct versus one is incorrect. I'm just saying we are different. But because we don't understand that, and we understand it in theory, but if you look at it in the practical situation, when someone says something to disagree with you, you're like, but I'm correct because this is the context in my mind. So we believe so much in the way we look at things that we forget that people can have different perspectives.
Yeah.
Okay, coming back to your first question. Now, after all of this, even if he comes and says, even if he realizes, other than dropping your burning coal that you feel internally, it's not going to change anything in your life.
At least, I will be, I'll be satisfied
that he has accepted his defeat.
Yes, yeah, and maybe his nazariya, towards me will be.
So one person's nazariya changing towards you,
Yeah.
what would it do? He's just one person.
Yeah, but that person is the person of my life, you know. He's not just Tom, Dick, and Harry. I mean,
Agree.
neighbor's opinion changing about me every day doesn't bother me. But you know, you shared your life, you've had children with that man.
Right, I agree. And I'm not trivializing the expectation. I'm just saying, even if this person says this, even if in practicality he says, okay, I'm sorry, or I shouldn't have,
Yeah,
you still lived the life you lived. You still went through everything that you required to go through.
yeah,
And your 8 years are not coming back. But
yeah.
if you're holding that expectation,
Yeah,
you may burn next 8 years for sure.
they'll not come back. Of course, they'll not, never come back. And maybe I will still relive them, even if he says this. I think, but there is something, you know, you want when somebody has wronged you or something. At least at some point, you want them to understand, you know,
I
that.
agree with you. My only question to you is, if they don't, or healing may happen when you realize that I am the one who's letting this poison spread.
My
You
sister tells
know,
me that you're allowing that to, you know,
fester.
yeah, poor me. Why had this to happen to me? You know, self sympathy and all that.
And nothing
Right
is
about
wrong.
situation.
Nothing is wrong about it until you realize the value in this broken piece. The very moment you realize that there is this value in it, I had to discover myself. Without this, let me be honest here, but you wouldn't have had the courage to walk away from your marriage.
Yeah.
The fact that this happened to you, and it was like inflicted upon you, you actually had to live this single life, which you wish would have happened much before because of the desires and the strength you had as a person. I'm not saying you wish the marriage wouldn't have worked, but you wished that
Yes,
you would have had spaces where you expressed yourself
but
and you did.
I wanted, actually speaking, I wanted that much.
I can definitely see that in your writing.
I
So
wanted,
that
but I didn't have options. You know, I was not independent. I was dependent for everything, so I couldn't just, you know.
do it. Agree. But the fact that you took reins in your hands, which is not everybody's choice, Gurmeet. People could have collapsed. People could have done all of, and we have seen women and people in the family who get dependent and who get further in their, downward spiral. They go further down. You did not choose any of it.
No.
You did not allow the situation to take hold of you. You did not allow things to break down completely. You said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If I'm here and if I have to deal with it, I'm going to figure my way around it to deal with it. I cannot let this happen to me. That journey, that spark, I'm saying always existed. And you were looking for it. So the very moment the self pity that you're referring to comes because you believe I was weak, I was the victim, and I had no choice. The very moment you change the narrative and you realize, not you make it as auto suggestion, but you realize that you were strong all along. The situation only opened the door that you were waiting for your life to open to you, and it allowed you to grow and become this person that you are. Then you would not feel the same emotion.
Like it's a blessing in disguise.
Exactly my point. I do not see the way things have happened. I do not see. I might be wrong, but I do not see the person coming and apologizing or having his internal realization because you both do not have any communication channel for the realizations to occur and linger and the person to realize and come back. That is very, very important. We don't one fine day wake up and suddenly realize our mistakes. It never happens.
No.
Somebody has to walk us through that journey to see the other perspective. Now, in your case, that is not happening. So there might never be a possibility for that conversation that you're hoping to have to occur. But if it doesn't occur, that doesn't mean you're going to stop yourself. Or the way you're doing right now, slow yourself down until someone utters specific words. It's literally letting that relationship drive you even today.
Yeah.
When that the breakup happened in your marriage, you stood there and you say, I'm dependent for everything here. Now I have to recreate my life and go on the other side. It was uncomfortable, you're not ready for it, and you never asked for that life. So you resisted, you cried, you fought, you're seeking sympathy, all of that is justified. But now, after having learned the game, having moved on the other side, creating yourself over and over again, not once, not twice, but over and over again. When you stand here, you're not dependent on that relationship. Also, you're not dependent on the words for a closure, because closure happens in our minds.
Yeah, closure is I think, what I'm looking for, not healing, closure. You've rightly said that. Closure. Yeah.
So I have said this to many people and I practiced it myself. I created a mechanism of closure with myself. I said, okay, these are the things I'm going to do, and that would bring for me the complete closure. So for me, giving away certain things that we had bought together was my way of, like, all the emotions attached to it. I almost like packed all my emotions in it, and I said, okay, now this is my second act. So it may sound very coach like, but I have to say this. I created a mechanism to figure my path to closure. And then when it was still hurting, I said, okay, it's still remaining. I'm going to do something else. And then I kept asking myself, what would give me closure? Because the other person coming and doing the closure is also a myth. It's a filmy idea. It's very Bollywoodish. Like after 20 years, when the brothers meet or the father calls the son back, son, beta, I shouldn't have, all filmy.
We actually see that in movies. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how we build our script. You also should realize it, and you should suffer, and then you would realize how much I was hurting. All of this may or may not happen.
Yeah, that's too dramatic. Yeah, the
I didn't want to use that word. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
So when that does not happen, what do? We fight it. We are like, no, you should, I should, this and that, and blah and blah. But if you take a moment and realize, if this one person does right now, I understand he's a significant person or he was a significant person, but today giving the remote control of your happiness in that person's life, you are doing it. Yeah. By expecting him to use these words to only way of your closure is giving the remote control in that person's hand again. It's not my neighbor's opinion, but you meet your neighbors almost every second day. Yeah. This person you have met after 8 years.
Yeah.
And still you look at that the person who have moved away and who have created his life and you have created yours, the remote control is still in that person's hand. And that is what I feel is something we should question.
I didn't realize that actually. Yeah. That's what's happening. Yeah.
And if you take that remote control back and say, okay, I know I seek closure and I do not know how to do it, but I'm going to ask myself, because the answers are always with us. Sit there, ask yourself, so where exactly will I get my closure? What do I require to do? Sit down and you will get one or two simple answers, and they will work or they may not work. But ask that question again and again for next 1 month, that what exactly do I require to do to get my closure in this relationship? These are the words. I'm going to repeat them for you to remember. What exactly do I require to do to get closure in this relationship? So I think that is the space we have to look at.
Yeah, really. You gave me a good picture of myself. That this is what you insight rather. Yeah, and it's quite very relevant. Yeah.
So we require to sometimes, look at things for what they are, even if we don't agree with it. We don't want to agree with it because we have certain ideas that we build about ourselves and about the other person. But at the end, your opinion of you or the other person is an opinion. It is not the truth. It is not the actual fact. It's only an opinion. And opinions are always subjective. No matter who has those opinions, no matter how people look at it, they are just subjective.
Very true.
I'm going to leave you with this question. I want you to spend next 1 month asking the same question every day. We do the graphotherapy stroke, the flow of thoughts that I know you have gone through. So just do flow of thoughts one page and answer this question every day. Some days you'll hear some really horrible ideas. You'll feel like hitting and killing and whatever you feel like. Just write it down. Doesn't matter. And some days you can almost see the conversation being very emotional and both of you crying. Just describe whatever you think is your closure. After doing this for a month, you'll reach a point where you'll understand what was the dramatic ideas here, what was the actual truth, what exactly would work, what would not work, and also that all of that you're experiencing or feeling will be out there for you to look at. And I'm very sure then the situation will be very different.
I'm certain. Yeah, it is like, you're having a earache and you're going to the cardiologist.
Well said. True.
Yeah.
And you're like, thinking, why am I not healing? You cannot heal because we are looking at this wrong problem. The doctor does not have the tools.
Right.
I'm very happy. Thank you so much for...
Thank you, Aditi. It was such I don't know how time has gone by. It was lovely. This chat was really kind of stirred me up inside. Yeah, I know where I'm today and what I need to do.
I think it takes courage to rebuild life. It takes courage to look at yourself with honesty, and definitely it takes further courage to do it in a public forum. So I'm really, really happy and grateful that you chose this. And my request to you is, with this insight, now for next 3 to 5 days, this happens after every session, that all these emotions will become really, really strong. So do not get worked up about it. That's how it works. You really feel stimulated in different ways and stirred up because you have not experienced this, or seeing a mirror is not the easiest thing. So give yourself time to release all those emotions through journaling, through ways in which you do not bottle it up, because that's what's going to happen. I'm just giving you heads up on that. That's going to happen. So be in that space and it will settle. It required to say 8 years you're just holding this pressure cooker. We have released the vessel, so probably the things will become disturbing, but just be in the process. That's only way. I believe this, the way to go through a situation is to grow through the situation. Right now you are avoiding that pain. You're avoiding taking responsibility for your damage.
Yes.
Your part of the damage. So when you do this journey, it will be different. And please tell me, how is it for you? I really want to know.
Yeah, sure. I will keep in touch with you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Lovely. God bless you.
I keep saying this. The only objective of any session is to let the client know their version of the truth. This session required a lot of negotiation. Many of us stand in our own ways. We are unwilling or unable to see things for what they are. We keep coloring them in our emotions and our shades of blue. If this conversation has stirred something for you, then pick up a notebook and start journaling. Let me know what are your challenges or experience in this process on my Instagram handle at Aditi Surana. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Absolutely Right. You can join our free journaling workshop and know more about graphotherapy practices on our website, aditisurana.com. If you like this podcast, then don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Let's connect on Friday. Till then, happy writing!
Have you ever wondered how successful people do their thing? How do they navigate the challenges they often face? Are you wondering about the future of restaurants, film, education, technology, and everything else in between? Hi, I'm Gauri Devidayal, best known for being one of the brains behind The Table, an award-winning restaurant in Bombay. One thing my life as a restaurateur has given me is the opportunity to meet with some truly inspiring people, most often just by chatting with strangers at the community table. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about learning the new dimensions of business and understanding how different people swim this sea. It's an opportunity for me to pick their brains and ask them all the questions on my mind, whether it's about learning from their past experiences or talking about future trends. Through their journeys, stories, and insights, I hope you too, like me, will come away inspired and energized. So come, join me every Wednesday with your favorite drink, because this round is on me.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we are just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel,
and me, Tushar,
every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.